am audible. Well, okay. Anyway, so Professor Das, are you ready? Professor Das, are you there?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, so it's a good evening, everybody. Well, today we are going to have the last lecture in the webinar series on Western philosophy. We have traveled through the modern Western philosophy, starting from Bacon to the philosophy of Kant. Well, of course, the philosophy of Kant has been dealt in a greater length, extending over 8 to 9 lectures, and today we are going to have a last lecture on Kant and also the last lecture in the webinar series. So it was a great time with Professor Pramod Kumar, who spoke so nicely on the development of the rationalism, empiricism, and finally he showed us how Kant took both the threads of empiricism and rationalism to bind them together to give to the world a synthetic or a critical philosophy that is of much value and worth. And as we could see over last few weeks, Professor Das was speaking on Kant, and rightly so, because he was trying to connect the threads that were left by the predecessors from the rationalist school and the empiricist school, and nicely Professor Das has tried to show how philosophy of Kant is so important in understanding of philosophy itself, I say. And Kant we can take as one of the greatest thinkers who have brought in a lot of changes in thought, and he has given a new direction to thought. So this is how philosophy of Kant becomes more important. And now today we are going to have the last lecture on Kant, and without wasting much time, let us all move to Professor. We will be speaking, say, on the critic of pure reason and the practical reason in brief, say in 1 hour. And let's see. And we know that Professor Das speaks very complex things in a very simple manner, in a refined manner, in an understandable manner, and that's why he's so famous, because his words, they come out from his heart, and they do wonders to the listeners because his ideas are so clear, and that's how his talks become so interesting. So let us all move to Professor Das to have the lecture on Kant, on the ideas of pure reason and practical reason. Now I welcome all the participants this evening who are so much connected with philosophy family and the talks of Professor Das. So without wasting much time, let us move to Professor Das for the lecture. Over to Professor Das. Welcome, sir. And namaskar.
Namaskar, Dr. Rao. Very esteemed participants of this session. After perhaps more than 25 talks on Western philosophy, and especially more than 10 talks on Immanuel Kant, this time we are going to conclude this series with this beautiful topic, that is pure reason and practical reason. From the next Saturday, we shall start Isha Upanishad in the evening of Saturday and morning of Sunday. Throughout this month, I shall take 8 sessions, and that I will teach the PG second year students of Gangadhar Mehar University. I hope and I invite all of you. This is open for discussion. This is open to all the students of all colleges and universities. It is not restricted to a particular university, because wisdom cannot be restricted in a particular space and time. Wisdom never expires and a teacher never retires. This is my belief. So today's topic is pure religion and practical religion. Immanuel Kant has written three important books: Critique of Pure Religion, Critique of Practical Religion, and Critique of Judgment. So in the Critique of Pure Religion, he is critical about the nature of human knowledge, the limit of human knowledge, the scope of human knowledge. What can we know? This is very important in the first book, that is Critique of Pure Religion. What is the possibility of our knowing? What can really we know? What can be the knowledge claim? And what we can't know? And what are the conditions of knowing? And how can our knowing or knowledge become scientific? Immanuel Kant believes in scientific knowledge. Scientific knowledge means the knowledge which can be demonstrated through our experience and through our pure reason. So anything that is beyond experience and logic, we can say that is scientific. That is either speculation, that is dogmatic by nature, that is not scientific. So Immanuel Kant claims that not only rationalist philosophers, both rationalist and empiricist philosophers are dogmatic, because they have overlooked one aspect of knowledge for the other. That means for a knowledge situation, we should have both the assets, the asset of sense experience, and the other asset is our human mind, or the way of rationalization. Without mind, experience is meaningless, and without experience, there is nothing to rationalize. So our experience provides the data, content, and that is scrutinized by our mind. So mind alone cannot create knowledge. Similarly, we can't have knowledge only through sense experience. So human knowledge is possible by the synthesis of experience and religion. This is the contribution of Immanuel Kant, and he synthesized both the claims of empiricist and rationalist philosophers. The rationalist philosophers was claiming, they were claiming that that religion is the only source of knowledge. There is no contribution of sense experience. No external world is necessary for our knowledge. If we have a sound mind, we can have knowledge. So this view is one-sided. This claim is one-sided. So Immanuel Kant said this claim is dogmatic, because mind alone cannot create knowledge, cannot be responsible for any knowledge situation. Empiricist philosophers claimed that mind is a tabula rasa, mind is an empty chamber, mind is passive, mind has no role for knowledge. Every knowledge is possible only through sense experience, only through sense organs. I see and I hear, I know, I perceive through my sense organs, and that is my knowledge. Whatever I see, that is knowledge. Whatever I hear, that is knowledge. Whatever I taste, that is knowledge. That means my sensation is knowledge. There is no mind. Metaphysically, there is no mind, because many metaphysical philosophers claim that there is no such mind at all. Great philosophers like Gautam Buddha, in Indian philosophy, Gautam Buddha, and in Western philosophy, many philosophers, Gilbert Ryle in Western philosophy, David Hume in Western philosophy, and in Indian philosophy, Gautam Buddha, they even don't believe in the existence of mind. Mind is active. Mind has an important role in the knowledge situation. That is something different. They even deny the existence of mind. That mind does not exist. There is no such mind. Mind is an illusion. There is no such mind. So in this situation, only our sense experience is responsible for knowledge. And rationalist philosophers are dogmatic in the sense they claim that there is no role of experience. Only mind can create knowledge. So Berkeley became a subjective idealist because everything is an idea only. Because whatever we claim to know, that is only our idea. Suppose I say this is a glass. Suppose I say this is a glass. This glass is not an object. This is a glass. What I know through my mind. That is means this is an idea of a glass. This is not the real glass, because the real glass cannot be known. Whatever is known, that is known through my conceptualization, my sensation. That is not the objective. That is not the object. That is simply an idea. So Immanuel Kant synthesized these two claims, and he said, no, the objective world must be there, the thing must be there, so there must be an object of knowledge, and there must be a subject of knowledge. That means the mind must be there, who can make a judgment, or without judgment, no knowledge is possible. So mind must be there for making judgment, and sense organs must be there to receive the sense data from the external world. So by this combination, we can have right knowledge. So Immanuel Kant says that the combination of the sense experience and reason is only the way for the knowledge situation, and that knowledge is scientific knowledge. But what is the limit of human knowledge? Through this synthesis, taking both empiricism and rationalism, taking both experience and reason, man can know only the phenomenal world. Man cannot know the noumena or the reality as such. Man can't know the truth. Man can know only the appearance, because man can see the structured reality. Structured reality means the reality which is structured by our understanding. So we see the world of our understanding. We can't see the real world. The real world is unknown and unknowable. The world that we see, that is nothing but our interpreted world. Whatever we interpret about the world, about anything, that is not the real interpretation. That is our interpretation. The way we interpret the world, that becomes, we think that is the world. That means we mistake the appearance as the reality. That means the reality is unknown and unknowable. Whatever is known to us through our knowledge mechanism, that is simply the phenomenal world. So this is the contribution of human knowledge. Human knowledge is scientific because it is systematic. It is systematic. In which way it is systematic? Because it begins with experience and processed through our mind, But what is the product? The consequence is, the product is the phenomenal knowledge of the phenomenal world, not knowledge of the real world. So empiricist philosophers and rationalist philosophers, they were claiming about reality, that we can know the reality through our sources of knowledge. Immanuel Kant synthesized both and ultimately claimed that human knowledge cannot reach the reality, cannot reach the noumena. So the phenomenal world can be known through both experience and mind. How? Immanuel Kant says that we can't experience anything without the a priori conditions of space and time. That means our experience is conditioned to only space and time. That means without space and time, we don't have any access for perception. We can't perceive anything. Whatever we perceive, that is spaced and timed. So space and time are a priori conditions of any perception. He has given a very beautiful example. Suppose we are going to fish in the ocean. When we are fishing, we are using the net, and the net has a particular size of hole. So that hole is the precondition which can determine which type of fish can be caught by the net. Suppose, and the second example is, suppose I am wearing a spectacle, and that the color of the spectacle is black, so I can see only the everything black, because the condition is black. Because the spectacle, the glass is black, through that black glass, I can see only the glass, only the black things. Everything will look black through a black spectacle. So, perception is not free from the a priori conditions of space and time. Immanuel Kant has given much importance on these a priori conditions of epistemology. Therefore, he is using the word transcendental. We have discussed all these things in different sessions. I am just summarizing that to explain the distinction between pure reason and practical reason. Why? The question is, if we are synthesizing both the instruments of experience and reason, that we are not one-sided, we are taking the help of experience and reason together, but in spite of that synthesis, we claim, Immanuel Kant claims, that human knowledge cannot reach at the reality. It is only about the phenomenal world. Why? The answer is that whenever we perceive through space and time. That means the spatio-temporal condition limits our knowledge. So our knowledge is through space and time. That means it is structured by space and time. That means whatever is beyond space and time cannot be perceived. This is the limit of a perception. That means from the very beginning, the world, the reality is divided into two types. The reality that is structured through space and time, which is perceived, and the reality that is beyond space and time. In the Upanishads, the same thing is said, that the ultimate truth, Brahman, cannot be known through the ordinary ways, through the ordinary instruments of knowing. So that is avyakta, that is indescribable. Whatever is indescribable, achintya, which cannot be thought of, which is formless, which cannot be given any form. So that indescribable, that unthinkable entity cannot be thought of, cannot be described by any means of language. In the same way, this is another attempt of Western philosopher like Immanuel Kant. He is saying that we should be very critical. We should be very critical about the status of human knowledge. That we proclaim many things, that we have established science, philosophy, religion, so many things we have established, but we are very much ignorant of the very structure of our knowledge, very possibility of our knowledge, the limitation of our knowledge. So we should know what we can't know. We should know what we can't know. Socrates also said that. Socrates said, yes, if people say that I am the wisest person, yes, I am the wisest person because I know what I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. This is the difference between you and me. You are ignorant and I am ignorant, but I know that I am ignorant. You don't know that you are ignorant. Because I know that I am ignorant, I am the wisest. So real knowledge is the knowledge of the limitation of knowledge. What I don't know, if I know that, then I am really a man of wisdom. If I claim that I know everything and my knowledge is complete, then I am really ignorant. In Indian philosophy, this thing is said by Jaina system. That Anekavada, there are many views, infinite numbers of views, many minds, many thoughts, many philosophers, many views. Because the reality is complex. The reality is so complex that human mind cannot have an access to every aspect of everything, even every aspect of one thing. So we always perceive the part, but we give a conclusion, give a judgment about the whole. So that is the human crisis in epistemology. We perceive the part. Suppose he has given a very beautiful example of an elephant, that we perceive the part of the elephant, but we claim that part as the whole elephant. Human beings suffer from this type of illusion. Looking at the part, they claim the whole. Similarly, in the Advaita Vedanta, the reality is described in the negative way. Neti, 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 not this, not this, not this. You can't say that this is that. You can't say this is that because you can't say. It is impossible. Your knowledge can't reach that. But negatively you can say, this is not that. This is not that. Is it that? No. Is it that? No. Is it that? No. So this is how we can have a possible description of the reality. So Jaina system, Advaita Vedanta, the system of Advaita Vedanta and the system of Immanuel Kant, all these systems only speak one thing, that human knowledge is limited, is conditioned, is structured. And that structure begins from the very process of experience. We have two things. We have experience and we have understanding. First we experience, then we understand what we experience. First we see something, then we interpret. Interpretation is understanding. So knowledge begins from perception, then it is processed through our understanding. So first we perceive. Suppose we are going to a doctor. A doctor is perceiving first. He is perceiving the different symptoms of our disease. Then he is understanding, he is applying his reason, then he is prescribing the medicine. So in every situation, Suppose I am driving. When I am driving, first I perceive the road situation. Then I understand what to do, whether I should go to the left or right, whether I should overtake or not, whether I should stop, whether I should increase the speed of my car. So first I see, then I understand, then I interpret, then I do action. So perception, understanding, then action. Suppose I am cooking. So first I see. I use my perception that the gas is all right, everything is every setup is all right. Then I understand the situation. Then I can be able to cook. So in every situation, we start from perception, then understanding, then action. So in the knowledge situation, when perception comes first, Immanuel Kant says that the perception is not a free perception. That you are not free to perceive anything you like. Your perception is conditioned to a priori forms. They are called space and time. That means our perception is spatio-temporally related. By saying this, by claiming this, he made a revolution in philosophy. That the reality is divided into two, truth and appearance. From here, that means the candidates, suppose there are 1,000 candidates, so many candidates are out from the first written test. So this is the written test of our epistemology. That from the first door, many things are left out, which do not come in space and time. That means what? That means we perceive the world of space and time. We can't perceive the world which is beyond space and time. But what is in the Upanishad it is said that Brahman, the ultimate truth, is beyond space and time. Brahman, the ultimate truth, cannot be restricted to a particular space and time. Jagannatha, that means Jagatarnatha. Jagannath does not stay at Puri. Jagannath does not stay in a particular temple. He is the Natha of the Jagat. Isavasyam idam sarvam. That Isa is all pervaded. That means it is beyond space. It is the space itself. It is the creator of time. It is not conditioned by time. So the truth, tat ejati tat na ejati tat dure tat antike. That means in logic we say that one person cannot stay at two places at the same time. One cannot remain present at two places at the same time. But in metaphysics we can say Ishvara, or the ultimate truth, is all pervaded. Not only at two places, he can remain at all places at one time. That means the ultimate truth transcends spatio-temporal conditionings. The ultimate truth transcends space and time. But that is not possible in epistemology according to Kant. Whatever we know, we are bound to know through space and time. So here our knowledge becomes structured by space and time. So therefore, Immanuel Kant says it's transcendental. Transcendental means whatever is conditioned by some a priori conditions. A priori means independent of experience. Independent of experience. A priori means which cannot be experienced. That means we experience through something which cannot be experienced. Suppose I see everything through my eye, but I can't see my eyes. Everything is seen through eyes, but the eyes are not seen. Okay. Similarly, I experience everything through elements which are independent of experience. In that sense, they are called transcendental. They are transcendental, that is independent of experience. So here, the world is divided into two, the experienced world, and the other world is the world that is beyond our experience, beyond human experience. So everything is divided into two things. Everything is divided into two things. The thing in singular form, we can say, the thing in itself and the thing that appears. The thing in itself is never experienced because it cannot be experienced. The thing that appears is only possible through our perception because the thing that we experience is only that is processed through spatio-temporal conditions. It exists in a space and it exists in time. Therefore, Immanuel Kant has given a very beautiful concept, and he calls it Transcendental Aesthetic. So, Transcendental Aesthetic is a science. We can call it a science. Science means a systematic study. It is a systematic study of the origin of knowledge. How human knowledge originates. Human knowledge originates from experience, but that experience is conditioned. So now we received the sense data, we received the contents of experience. These contents are collected from the external world. Immanuel Kant does not reject the external world like idealist philosophers. External world is there, but we can't see the real external world. What we see through space and time. Therefore, our perception is conditioned by space and time, and that is the real raw material of our knowledge. We are building the castle, we are building the big buildings through these raw materials which are collected from the empirical world through space and time. Okay, suppose suppose we caught some fish through the net. That fish is not the total fish. There are many fish in the ocean which are not caught by our net. Similarly, there are many things in the world which we can't know. We know a very limited world. So the knowledge of our world, the knowledge of the world is a very limited world. The reality that we can't know the reality, whatever we claim that the reality that we claim, that is a very limited reality. The scope of our knowledge is very limited because it is through space and time. But that is not enough. That is only raw material. We just collected the contents, but they should be processed. They should be processed by our understanding. If they are not synthesized, suppose I perceived grass, I perceived green. So grass and green, if they will exist separate to each other, we can't have the knowledge that grass is green. So in order to say grass is green, in order to make a judgment, we need a mind, because our sense organs cannot synthesize the subject and predicate. Cannot synthesize. For the synthesis of the subject and predicate, for making a judgment, a rational mind is necessary. So here comes the role of mind. So mind is active, and mind is very much active in order to make judgment. Here, Immanuel Kant is using the word transcendental logic. The first one is transcendental aesthetic, and the second one is transcendental logic. Why it is transcendental? It is transcendental because human experience is not free. Similarly, human thinking is also not free. Human understanding is also not free. Whatever we understand through certain a priori categories, a priori forms. And Immanuel Kant is speaking about 12 categories of understanding that we have discussed. That human mind, whatever we think, whatever we judge, we think through certain a priori concepts like causation, substance, so many concepts are there. There are 12 categories of understanding. Through that, our understanding is processed. So first, the perception is processed through space and time. Therefore, they are transcendental. And whatever is collected through our conditioned perception, that is again processed for understanding through the 12 categories of understanding. That is called transcendental logic. So, by these two processes, when knowledge is processed through the a priori conditions of perception and a priori conditions of understanding, we can't have the knowledge of the reality, the knowledge of the nominal world. This is the fundamental claim of Immanuel Kant. So Immanuel Kant is not speaking about metaphysics when he is discussing about critique of pure reason. What is pure reason? Pure reason means the reason which is processed through a scientific way. What is pure perception? Pure perception means the perception which is processed through a scientific way. That means the perception through the a priori conditions of space and time is pure perception. Without that, if we claim any perception, that is not pure perception. Because human perception is only possible through space and time. So that is pure perception. What is pure reason? The pure reason means the reason through the categories of understanding. The a priori categories of understanding. So now the point is, pure reason, through pure reason, we can only speak about the phenomenal world, only the world of appearance. We cannot speak about the nominal world. But human mind has a tendency to know the totality, to know the infinity, to know the supreme, to know the highest. This is a human tendency. This is a human urge. If this is limited, if I am aware of the limitation, then naturally the question will come, what is beyond that limit? If this is finite, then what is that infinite? If this is limitation, then what is that totality? This tendency is there. So what happens in order to have the knowledge of the totality, the infinity, man misuses the reason. Misuse the reasons means reasons should be processed through categories of understanding, as perception should be processed through space and time. If we imagine something, or if we think something, if we apply our reason wrongly, if we misuse our reason, then we shall land in illusions. We shall find illusions. That means illusion takes place when reason is misused. That means reason can be used and misused. When we use reason in a scientific way, we get knowledge, and that is a knowledge claim. When we try to misuse reason in order to know the existence of a God, the immortality of soul, the world of totality, three basic illusions are there. the illusion of the self, that there is a permanent self. This is a great illusion. Lord Buddha is silent about this. He is not claiming about any Atman, any self, any soul. So his theory is called Nairatmavada. That means there is no Atman, there is no soul. Why there is no soul? Because it does not come in the process of our perception. Because we can't perceive, and even we can't think of it. Whatever we can't perceive and whatever we can't think, we should not speak about that. If we speak, that is not scientific. That will become a dogmatic approach. That will be a very speculative approach. So we should remain silent about that which cannot be scientifically said. So we can't scientifically claim the existence of God, the existence of self, and the totality of the world. So if we claim that in spite of the limitation, then that will result in illusion. So that is not raw knowledge, that is illusion. And Immanuel Kant is speaking about three types of illusion. One is the illusion of the self, that there is a permanent self. There is a permanent self. So there are two self is of two types. One is the epistemological self or the logical self. The self is there, who is responsible for the knowledge association, because without the existence of a self, a transcendental consciousness, we cannot have any synthesis. For the synthesis, there must be a logical self. But when we mistake that logical self as the metaphysical self, the permanent self, the Atman, then that is an illusion. And that illusion takes place because of the misuse of reason. So we should know we should know what is reason, and we should know how to apply that reason. If we misapply our reason, then that becomes illusion. That leads to illusion. And there are three fundamental illusions because of the misuse of reason: illusion of self, illusion of God, and illusion of the world. World means the total world. And why such illusions? How these illusions took place? These illusions took place because of the misuse of the categories of understanding, misuse of a pure reason. Suppose there is a category like permanence or the substance. From that substance, we can't say that is a logical substance. That is the time concept is logical. From that, we should not mistake the logical entity to the real entity. That there must be something permanent. So we have discussed that how we misuse the 12 categories of understanding, and by that how we have established that yes, God must exist, and soul is immortal, there is a permanent soul, and there is the world is the totality of world can be conceived. So these three illusions are created by the misuse of a pure reason. Now the third point is, then can we say that the existence of a God is meaningless? The existence of a soul is meaningless? The existence of the totality of the world is meaningless? Immanuel Kant says no. Immanuel Kant is only claiming that these three things cannot be established by pure reason. These three things, anything permanent, anything we call truth, anything we call reality, maybe it God, soul, or world, that cannot be established, that cannot be known through pure reason. Because pure reason is logical. Pure reason is logical. That must be, that it has its own limitation. It has specific application. So through that we can reach at only the appearance. How? Pure region will act, will operate on what? On that which are collected from experience through space and time. So now the question comes, when you apply region on God, or on soul, or on world, the basic question, the common sense question will come. Suppose somebody is going to appear the interview. He should appear the interview after the written test. If somebody is going to appear the interview where there is a process of a written test, then a natural question will come, are you through written test? No. If you are not through written test, then it is illegal. Then this is a corruption. That means there is something mistake, there is something wrong in the process. So similarly, if you are talking about God, if you are applying your region about God, the fundamental question will come, can God be perceived? Either through space and time, either through space or through time? No. If God is not perceived, then you can't apply region here. So application of region is also restricted to something means to the experience which is through again space and time. That means you cannot apply your region anywhere you like. The application of region has its limits. This is called pure region. That means the region, the use of region has a scientific process. You cannot apply your region anywhere you like. You can only apply region on experience only. On experience which is through the space and time, not on any experience. You can't apply your region anywhere you like and any experience you have. No, that experience which is through space and time, on that you can apply your region. So when we apply our region regarding God or soul or world, this question is asked. If God, soul, and if God is not perceived, then we can't apply pure region about God. If the permanent soul is not perceived, we can't apply pure region on the discussion of the soul. If the total world means the fish which are out of the net. Fish which are out of the net, if they are not caught by the net, you cannot sell it. You can sell that fish which are caught through your net. So you can't speak of illogical concepts. Illogical concept means which are not processed through logic and experience. So our knowledge claim should be experience oriented and understanding oriented. Anything that is beyond experience and understanding, that is not pure. That is not pure. Pure understanding and pure experience. That means they are through the process. Okay. So now the question comes. Then God does not exist. Then any discussion about God is meaningless. Any discussion about the immortality of soul is meaningless. Any discussion about the totality of the world meaningless. Immanuel Kant says no. They are meaningful. They are meaningful through another aspect of region, and that is practical region. So pure region ends here. So far as pure region is concerned, you should be satisfied with the phenomenal world. But if you are interested for anything permanent, anything immortality, anything freedom, then freedom of will, free will, and immortality of soul. Immortality of soul means the continuity of life. That life was there, life is now, and life will be after our death. If you believe in such continuity, and if you believe in something infinity, that is God, then you have to have the use of another type of reason, that is practical reason. Here Immanuel Kant enters into the domain of morality. That means there is a logical life and the other is moral life. Epistemology is logical. Through epistemology, we should have an understanding of the limitation of our knowledge, and that part is over. But that is not the whole life. That is the understanding of the limitation of knowledge. That means we become free from our dogmatic mindsets. And that wisdom is necessary. But that wisdom must be translated into concerned, one cannot be moral. Because from the phenomenal world, man can learn only the relativity. So from the relativity, one cannot be moral. So in order to be moral, one should be universal. One should have the idea of the universal, which are not available in this phenomenal changing world. So morality is not phenomenal, morality is nominal. So here comes the use of practical reason. Therefore Immanuel Kant says that the existence of God and immortality of soul and freedom of will, these are the three postulates of morality. Basically freedom of will is the fundamental postulate of morality. Without free will, man cannot be moral. If human freedom, if man is determined by any way, a determined person, a conditioned person cannot be moral. For morality, one should be universal. One should be condition free. But what is our situation in epistemology? In epistemology, there is a condition of space and time. So whatever is conditioned by space and time, that cannot be universal. And whatever is not universal, that cannot be moral. So in order to be moral, one should be free from any condition. So far as space and time are concerned, that is descent in epistemology, but that is not descent in morality. So we have to go beyond epistemological limitations in order to be moral. So noumena is necessary for our moral life. Therefore he says, live in the kingdom of ends, universal end. That means live that kingdom of ends is possible only in the noumena. That your law should be universal, duty should be done for the sake of duty. It is only possible when you are universal. When you are conditioned, when you are restricted, when you don't have free will, you cannot be moral. So phenomenal world cannot help us being moral. That can't help us. So in order to be moral, we have to believe in the existence of a God as the postulate of morality. If you don't believe in the existence of God, then no inspiration will come to be moral. If we don't believe in the continuity of life, there is no question of being moral. Because everything is, because there is no question of a virtue, there is no question of a good and bad. Immanuel Kant has made a distinction between virtue and happiness. Virtue is ordinary and happiness has more value. So mere understanding the virtue is not enough. Happiness will come when that will be lived. So when we live with virtue, we become really happy. And that is, for that moral life, we need the practical reason, and we need the existence of a God, immortality of soul, and free will. And free will is very, very important. Free will means freedom from any conditions, freedom from empirical conditions, and freedom from the rational conditions like categories of understanding. So whatever is beyond categories of understanding and the empirical conditions, that is we can call pure reason, and through that pure reason we can speak of a faith. So pure reason leads to scientific knowledge, and practical reason leads to faith. So man cannot be satisfied only by knowledge. When we speak of God, when we speak of any religion, when we speak of morality, that is based upon faith. That is not based upon our knowledge, because our knowledge is conditional. My knowledge is different from your knowledge, and my society is different from your society. My likeness is different from your likeness. But whatever is unconditional, that is universal. So Immanuel Kant said categorical imperative. Moral law should be categorical. Categorical means it should transcend the categories. But what happens in the epistemology? Epistemology is not epistemology. It's categorized and categorical. There is a difference. Categorical means universal. But when we speak of epistemology, it is categorized. That means it is conditioned. So whatever is not conditioned, it is categorical. Categorical imperative. Imperative means the command. Whatever command means you do. It is not a fact. It is a command. You have to do something. It is an instruction. If you know the truth, follow the truth. That means Immanuel Kant is giving importance upon knowing is becoming. That if you know the truth, you have to become the truth. That is the command, that is the imperative. And that command is an unconditional command. And that unconditional command is beyond all categories, beyond all conditions. So whenever we speak about metaphysics, that discussion is very much relevant to ethics. So only through ethics, only through the discussion of morality, we can have an access to metaphysics. Otherwise, metaphysics is not possible through our pure reason. So it is very much important that existence of God is there. God must exist, and that existence is a matter of faith. It is a matter of faith. Therefore, we believe in different types of God. Therefore, we belong to different types of religion. Suppose I am a Hindu, I believe in Hindu deities. Suppose I am a Muslim, I believe in Allah. Suppose I am a Christian, I believe on Jesus Christ, because there is an autonomy, there is a freedom. In faith, there is a freedom, because it is conditioned free. There is no condition. It is unconditional. It is freedom. So there I am free. So through practical reason, we have two things. We have a door to morality, another door to religion, another door to metaphysics. So that is the utility of a practical reason. And what is a complete personality? Immanuel Kant says the complete personality is one who can foster both these possibilities of science and faith. Science and faith. If you are only scientific, if you are only confined to the scientific laboratory, your life will become mathematical, your life will become mechanical. So you should have a faith in the infinite. Because you know the phenomena through logic, then you should have a faith that beyond that boundary, there must be something infinite. Why should have that faith? Because of that faith, you can become moral. Otherwise, you can't become moral. Otherwise, you can become a scientist, but you can't become a good person. So, another beautiful thing Immanuel Kant is saying that goodwill is the highest virtue. And that goodwill, goodwill, in Bhagavad Gita, it is called Lokasangraha, that doing something for the community, for the others. You do something for others. So goodwill is the highest virtue. So goodwill is the universal will, that you must have goodwill, and that is the highest morality. And that is possible only through practical reason. So practical reason means the reason through which we practically live our life. For our practical life, we need practical reason. For our logical understanding, we need pure reason. So existence of God is very much personal to us. Immortality of soul, that is also a postulate of morality, and freedom of will, that is also a postulate of morality. So these are the three postulates of morality. Immanuel Kant says that duty should be done for the sake of duty. Doing duty is universal. You should belong to the kingdom of end, and you can't treat yourself as a means. You should treat yourself as the end, and you should not treat anybody as a means. You should treat anybody as an end, and you should do your duty not for any consequence. Because if you focus on consequence, that will become again conditional. That will become conditional. So you don't focus on consequence. You just focus on your duty. So that will lead to the universal form. So be universal, be categorical, and have a goodwill, culture goodwill, and be a happy man, not only a virtuous person. Through your virtuous qualities, the ultimate end of life is to be happy. Happiness is the highest virtue. That is the highest perfection. So this is the distinction between pure reason and practical reason. I am just summarizing in 3 sentences what I told. Immanuel Kant has made a distinction between the real world and the apparent world. Number 1. He made such a distinction through epistemological mechanism that whenever we try to know the world, we know through a priori conditions of perception, and we understand the world through the a priori categories of understanding. That means our knowledge of the world is a priori. It is conditioned to our knowing mechanism. And through that, we can't have any access for noumena, where we speak of the existence of God, immortality of soul, totality of the world. So this is pure reason. Through pure reason, we can have a logical platform. But when we speak about God, morality, God, immortality of soul, and totality of the world, there we used practical reason. And practical reason is very much useful to lead a moral life, because moral life is unconditional life. Moral life is the life that we really live in the practical world. And moral person should follow the universal principles, universal laws. The laws are not contextual, the laws are not personal, the laws are universal. And anything universal is possible through practical reason, that is not possible through pure reason. So the discussion about God, world, and morality are not useless. They have meaning, they have significance, because for having a complete personality, man should man should have scientific temper, and and access to faith, because scientific knowledge and faith both constitute the complete and perfect personality. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das, for your nice lecture. Well, I'm not synopsizing what you have said. Well, this is the last lecture, and even during the course of the towards the end of your lecture, you have synopsized what exactly you tried to say, and we have many participants with us. If they have any queries or any observations to make, they are welcome. Well, before moving into the discussion, somebody, let me check up, somebody has asked on what exactly Kant means by the scientific knowledge. Well, this was a question, I think, by, let me check, it was by Abhijit Badhyakar. Okay. What is scientific knowledge? How do you take this scientific knowledge? How Kant defines scientific knowledge? That please repeat it again on the request of the participant. Then we'll go for the discussion. Professor Das.
Science means systematic study. Science is a discipline which ensures the systematic study. Whatever we study scientifically is systematically, that we call scientific. Okay. So when we are talking about epistemology in the Kantian philosophy, we are discussing philosophy in a systematic manner. That how experience is possible, then how understanding is possible. Understanding is possible through experience, number one. Experience is possible through space and time, number two. Then again, understanding is possible through categories of understanding. Categories of understanding means our format of understanding. That means our understanding of the world is structured through our formats of understanding. So this is exercised in a scientific manner. Scientific manner means in a very systematic manner. Immanuel Kant says this is scientific knowledge. Thank you. But when we speak of God, soul, etc., that discussion is not scientific. There we take another instrument, that is faith, and faith is always personal. Faith may differ, but when scientific, another meaning of scientific is the mental formats, the psychological formats, the logical formats through which I understand the world, that is common to all. It is not that I have 12 categories of understanding and you have 20 categories of understanding and Vivekananda had 100 categories of understanding. No. If you are a human being, you must perceive through space and time. So that is universal format. And if you are a human being, you must perceive through 12 categories of understanding. So that is universal. So in that sense, it is scientific. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, we have a question by Smriti Rekha Nayak, a PG student of Ravenshaw University. Well, she says, well, in philosophy of Kant, who tries to make a synthesis of experience, moves through the categories and finally ends up in region. So, well, she has a problem when she says Kant says he's giving a justice to both empiricism and as well as rationalism. So, well, this is what Kant says, but she wants to know from you whether Kant is really making a justice to both these systems or in his synthetic philosophy. How do you say this? Well, Kant says he's making a Well, we got it, I think. Well,
Smriti Rekha, when we discuss about any philosopher, please forget that philosopher. Suppose we are discussing about Advaita Vedanta, we are discussing about Sankaracharya, forget Sankaracharya. You just imagine that you are Sankaracharya. Suppose you are discussing about Immanuel Kant, you just imagine that you are Immanuel Kant. So you apply the common sense. Then you can justify whatever is said by a philosopher. Even suppose in our platform, many speakers are speaking. When we try to synopsize the speaker, we try to become that speaker, as if I am that speaker. What he is saying is that I am saying. What I mean to say, what Immanuel Kant is claiming, you just make it is your own claim, and you observe how far it is true. Now I am asking the question that can you experience anything without space and time? Can you perceive anything without space and time? Some perceptions may be possible without space. Can you perceive anything without time? Any feelings without time? When you are dreaming, there is a time. When you are imagining, that is a time. So no perception, no imagination, no feelings is possible without time. This is common sense. This is not what Immanuel Kant is saying. Whatever is said without common sense, whoever will say that will not be accepted. Okay. So Immanuel Kant justifies that Immanuel Kant is claiming very honestly why he is a critical philosopher. He is claiming very honestly that don't build the castle on the air. If you don't have a strong foundation, then your building will collapse. So first have a very strong foundation. If you want to build a 4-storied or 5-storied building, then accordingly you should have a very strong foundation. And what is that foundation? That foundation is, if you claim to know something, first you know the limit of your knowledge. That is the contribution of Immanuel Kant. And regarding the limit of human knowledge, he has written a book, a book of a big volume, that is Critique of Pure Reason. And in that book, he is sharing his experience, and which is based upon common sense, that any human experience that cannot be possible without spatio-temporal conditions. If it is true, then any declaration about metaphysical truths is only speculation. So you are free to speculate about metaphysics, but you can't claim metaphysical truths. You can believe in God, but you can't claim God as you claim other things scientifically. This is the difference, because we have to know the limit of human knowledge. If at least we understand this, then our approach is very critical, our approach is very honest, our approach is very analytical. So be critical, be analytical, and be honest in your philosophical approach. Don't just assume and just speculate and build your castle on the air. What religious people do, and they propagate their religions. This is not the scientific approach of any philosophy. Thank you, Smriti Rekha. If you are clear, then all right. If you are not clear, please continue your question.
Well, thank you, Professor Das, for your response. Well, one thing let me tell to Smriti Rekha. Well, it's not a question of doing justice to anything. It is not a question of justice here. It is a question regarding, say, how to make a transition from your experience of the world to the understanding of the world that could be, say, certain, that could be of a universal sort. That was the problem actually. Experience was always giving a sort of probable truth, but Kant wanted to have get something from experience to establish something that is certain, something of a sort of a priori sort, something that is universal. So it is not a question of giving justice to experience or reason. It is rather the blend in a supportive role of one another. We cannot have just reason. We need experience, we need material, we need the matters of fact from the experiential world, and those matters are to be processed through our categories to yield a form of the knowledge which we claim that is something which is of a universal sort. So this is the entire scheme which Professor Das was talking of. So thanks, Priti Rekha. Well, we have a question by Shravani as well. Thank you for a good understanding of Kant. Well, she just asked what are the postulates of morality. Well, I'm saying her that the three postulates of morality that Kant speaks of is concerning the existence of God, the immortality of soul, and the freedom of will. Now, these are the three things that Kant talks of. Well, she raises another question. Well, let's see. Let me just check. Well, she says she has a problem. Well, you made a distinction, sir, regarding the transcendent and the transcendental during the course of your last lecture, during the course of your earlier lectures. Well, again, when Professor Das makes a use of transcendental, it is not something which is beyond the phenomena. When Kant makes use of the word transcendental, it is something not beyond. When you talk of transcendent, the Kantian says that refers to something that is beyond. But transcendental, Professor Das, in the lines of Kant, makes the use of it for the a priori forms of understanding, which is the transcendental forms of understanding. Okay, so that's how we need to make a distinction between the transcendental and the transcendent. Well, thank you, Shravani Madam. Well, we have with us one more question, and then we move to Dr. Aniruma, because we want to learn from her. Well, Sutapa Sarkar. Well, she wants to know from you the last three statements that you wanted to summarize your talk. Well, sir, please repeat those last three statements that you wanted to, by which you wanted to summarize your entire talk.
Yes, I summarized this way that because our topic was pure religion and practical religion. Pure religion is logical use of reason. Through that logical use, we can have the understanding. We can mature our understanding of the limitation of our knowledge. Okay, understanding about the phenomenal world, understanding about the distinction between what is phenomenal and what is nominal, what is truth and what is appearance. This understanding is very much necessary. If you don't understand what is truth and what is true and what is false, what is real and what is appearance, then you can't have any philosophy and you can't have any action, you can't have any morality. So this understanding is very much necessary, and for that understanding, pure religion is necessary. And what is the limitation of pure religion? And what is the crisis of misuse of pure religion? Immanuel Kant is talking about the misuse of pure religion. When the pure religion is misused, misused means when pure religion are used beyond its limits. Okay, then we land in illusions. Then we have three illusions, like the illusion of a God, illusion of a soul, and illusion of the world. Okay, these three illusions are also called transcendental illusion, because he has used transcendental in everything. Transcendental aesthetic, transcendental logic, transcendental illusions. So many transcendental that word is used in so many places. So this is the pure religion. Pure religion, through pure religion, we can have a very scientific use of epistemological mechanism, and through pure reason we can have an understanding of the phenomenal world. And the second thing is practical reason. Suppose we use the word, the concept God. Immanuel Kant is saying the best use of the concept of God is morality. It is not the concept of a God. Suppose you believe in God, but you are not moral, then that is a very only simply a conceptualization. It is only a logical thinking about God. So in practical region, we are becoming practical. We are living the practical life. Practical life means the moral life. So morality cannot be derived from the phenomenal world, anything relative world, because moral means universal. Moral means that must be necessary. Whatever is necessary, whatever is universal, whatever is common to all, whatever is unconditional, that is moral and that is nominal. And for that access, we can't have use of pure reason, because pure reason comes under a conditional use. That is the categorical, we say the 12 categories of understanding, etc. But in practical reason, we have a free access to faith. So there we can exercise our faith. There we can believe in a deity. We can believe in a supreme being. We can and we can differ from other religious people in our faith, in our belief. There we can access to different type of beliefs like the existence of God, immortality of soul, and the world as the totality. And so far as the morality is concerned, we are bound to have that universal understanding. Our universal understanding means our morality must be universal. Otherwise, it is not moral. Okay. So whenever we are discussing about God, soul, world, that is related to our moral life. So we have moral life, and the other is the logical life. Logical life strengthens our understanding of life, the philosophy of life. Moral life inspires to live a perfect life. That is the life of happiness. So he is making a distinction between virtue and happiness. You know so many virtues, that telling truth is a virtue. Many virtues are there. But happiness comes when you really live accordingly. Okay, so this was my entire talk, and I summarized that at the end of my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das. Well, one thing that comes to my mind when Kant speaks of the transcendental illusions. So, as you said, the illusions concerning the world in its totality, or the metaphysical self, or the being. Okay. So, when we talk, making a reference to a sort of knowledge claim. So within the purview of the pure reason, they are illusions, they are transcendental illusions, because they don't fit to the categories. But when we move to the practical region, okay, well, would it be right to call anymore that they are illusions, the three things that you have talked of, the metaphysical self, the being, and the other thing, the totality of the world. When we move to the practical reason, how the things differ? Are they still, will they still be called as illusions then? How do you say this?
No. So in order to avoid that illusion, if we really want to interpret existence of a God, existence of self, or our exercise of free will, if we really want to interpret that, and if we really love God, then we should have a different type of reason, because everything has its own scale, own instrument, own ladder. Through one ladder, we can't have the understanding of both phenomena and noumena. So for the understanding why illusions take place, when the pure region which are to be used through certain conditions, when they are used condition free, that leads to illusion. We can't, why they are illusions? Because pure region, the application of pure region cannot be possible without experience. Because so there is a link between pure region and experience, because we can apply pure region only on that which is based upon experience. But in practical region, we can apply region beyond experience. That does not start from experience. Therefore, in practical region, we can have an access to the existence of God, immortality of soul, and the philosophy of the world, our world view. How you think about the world, you have your autonomy. You have your own world view. What is your view of the society? What is your likeness of life? What is the ideology of your family? We all have our personal life, personal likeness and dislikes, likes and dislikes. That is our personal life. Their pure regions do not function. Pure regions function in epistemological mechanism, and these pure regions can be applied on experience which are scrutinized through space and time. Therefore, it is a scientific process. You can't apply pure region or categories on the metaphysical issues. Okay, but metaphysical issues are not useless. They have a meaning for our moral life, because we can't be moral in a contextual world. We can't be moral when everything is changing. According to Immanuel, but Bhagavad Gita will speak something different. When Bhagavad Gita will speak of Swadharma, I am doing work on that. This is the stand of Immanuel Kant. But when we shall speak of Bhagavad Gita is not accepting this. Bhagavad Gita is saying that universal dharma is there and Swadharma is also there. Telling lie is the virtue. Telling truth is the virtue. But in a particular context, you should not tell truth. You should tell lie in order to save a life of a person. So, keeping the promise is a virtue according to Immanuel Kant, that everybody should follow that. But in the Bhagavad Gita, if in the case of urgency, you may not keep your promise if that is detrimental for the society. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the context will determine what is good and bad. So that is contextual. But Immanuel Kant does not believe in contextual morality. Immanuel Kant is speaking about universal morality, therefore categorical imperative. So if a man does not have any access to noumena, that means beyond the phenomenal world, he cannot be universal. And if a man is not universal, he cannot be moral. This is the difference between practical religion and pure religion. Pure religion is logical. Practical religion is practical. Practical in the sense we live a moral life, we live a religious life, and we can believe in something permanent, continuity of self. We can believe in rebirth. We can believe in our destiny. All these things can be believed, can be discussed through practical religion. And that is also a part of our life. That is also another aspect of our life. Man is not only logical, man is also emotional. So that emotional aspect is nurtured through existence, belief in God, belief in soul, belief in living a moral life. That emotional aspect of life is nurtured. But man should be logical too. Man should have a critical understanding about the limit of epistemology. So Immanuel Kant is making a synthesis between logical life and emotional life or moral life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, as far as pure reason is concerned, well, one thing just I want to say that as far as pure reason is concerned, there is a sort of a knowledge claim which is missing, so to say, in the practical reason where much depends on one's faith. So thank you very much, sir. Well, we have with us Dr. Anurima Bhattacharya. Well, welcome, madam. Please, your observations, your questions, and as I think they would be very interesting. Welcome, madam.
Yes, good evening, everybody. And it is indeed an honor and a privilege to join Philosophy Family sessions. And I will really thank the Philosophy Family organizers to have such enriched sessions where we can really revise ourselves and also enrich ourselves. So it is a lesson. It is a lesson for me. I am enriched by all the lectures. I have seriously, sometimes I also want to interact, and maybe I don't know whether those things are relevant or not, but I can't resist myself. So I will surely try to share a few of my thoughts. Firstly, Dr. Das, initially when we started with today's lecture and we were talking of the distinction between the empiricist and the rationalist, and you were considering that the role of mind, you were saying that the empiricists say that the mind has no role in forming knowledge. This is a version of the empiricist, but I will try to, I instantly, it reminded me of Locke, and where we can see that Locke definitely has given a role of mind. So you can just consider that, and whatever be your feedback you can give, that I will not again go to, detail it, but we have seen that mind has a role in forming knowledge. I mean, right from the forming of the complex ideas, and then towards proceeding towards building up knowledge. So Locke has said about the role of mind. So he is an empiricist philosopher. So it came to my mind. So I will just have your feedback on that. Something more, I mean, regarding morality. Sir, what is an ethical existence other than thinking or knowing about ethics? This is a very, a question. I've framed it in the form of a question. How can I be morally existing without having a knowledge of morality? I mean, if I don't consider that I am having a knowledge, but I'm existing and I'm having a moral thought, how do I exist as a moral person without having a knowledge of ethics? Then what is living other than knowing? When I'm living a moral life and living a religious life, but I do not know, I do not have the knowledge about things, but I live those things. I cannot distinguish between these two aspects of existence, like knowing and living. These definitely come in context of our having knowledge of certain things and living in some other way. Like we have made distinctions between pure reason and practical reason. Pure reason contributing to knowing, and the practical reason contributing to ways of living. So how can I distinguish at all? Can they at all be distinguished? Please, I will be very happy if you address these two questions. I will not take so much of time. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhattacharya. Your first question was about Locke and Immanuel Kant. Locke said that mind is not active, mind is passive, and Immanuel Kant is claiming that mind is active all through experience and understanding. So this is how Immanuel Kant is different from Locke, because Immanuel Kant is saying that even perception is not possible without the active participation of mind. This is the contribution of Immanuel Kant.
Sir, possibly I could not make my question clear. I was trying to say that mind, Locke has also talked of the role of mind in framing
Yes,
ideas, in forming
Locke has
knowledge.
said, yes, Locke has said, but that is not in an active way. Okay, that is not in that active way. Locke, when Locke is speaking about mind, he is speaking about the creation of a complex ideas, how we can create complex ideas out of simple ideas. That is the only role of mind according to Locke. But Immanuel Kant is not speaking about that. Immanuel Kant is speaking that whenever our knowledge begins from experience, that is not possible without the active participation of mind. Generally, what we know that for experience only sense organs are responsible. Only sense organs are used. Not only by Immanuel Kant, it is also said in Nyaya system in Indian philosophy that mere contact between mind and sense, mere contact between sense organ and object is not enough for any knowledge situation if your mind is absent. Whenever you are perceiving something, if your mind is absent, then your perception is not possible. Therefore, accidents take place on the road. So mind has an active role in every bit of perception. This is the common sense. But what Immanuel Kant is saying, whenever we are perceiving something, we perceive through two a priori conditions, that is space and time. And these space and time are not objective space and time. They are the mental space and time. They are the mental forms. So space and time are a priori forms which exist in our mind. It is not a real space and time. This is the formal space and time. So from the very beginning of experience, without mind, we can't exercise any type of experience. So when through experience we collect the sense data, the contents, then also the real activity of a mind starts. That mind tries to understand, try to make a judgment by applying the 12 categories of understanding. So throughout the experience and understanding, mind is active. Okay, but according to both implicit and rational.
So can we consider the definition of knowledge as given by Locke, like the perceiving of the agreement and the disagreement of ideas? How do you
according to Locke, yes, I am answering your question. There is a basic difference between Locke and Immanuel Kant. Locke is claiming that knowledge is only possible through experience. Mind is a tabula rasa, mind is totally passive. Knowledge, whatever we know through our experience. Immanuel Kant is saying we can't have any knowledge without the interference of mind. This is the basic difference. So he introduced mind with a very positive status, active status, that without the interference of mind, even we can't perceive anything. But Locke is claiming that for perception, only sense organs are responsible. No mind is necessary. I am also adding that in Indian
knowledge, how do I reach knowledge without mind? Regarding the role of mind in forming knowledge, maybe that it is not the way that Kant employs mind. So the way that Kant employs mind in forming knowledge and the way that Locke employs mind is different. But Locke is also, in a way, he has also considered that mind has a role in forming knowledge. This was what exactly I wanted to say.
Yes, here you have to know, you have to understand the definition of knowledge. Knowledge does not mean only perceive something. Immanuel Kant is claiming, and it is also common sense. You suppose perceive something, but your mind is absent. I told you that. Then you can't have any knowledge. Knowledge is judgmental. This is the definition of knowledge. Knowledge, we can call something knowledge when it becomes judgmental. So you perceive grass, you perceive green, but if you don't make it a judgment, synthesize grass is green, then the greenness does not belong to grass, and grass is not something about which greenness is said. So subject and predicate both should be synthesized, and this synthesis is made only by mind. This cannot be done through any sense organ. This is common sense. So we can perceive mechanically, because without perception, mind cannot have any role to make a judgment. So perception is necessary, but mere perception is not enough. Mere perception will end in perception. Mere perception is not knowledge. Your perception will become knowledge when it becomes judgmental, when we synthesize the perceptions or percepts. Okay, so for that synthesis, you should have an active mind, not a passive mind. Okay, that is the point. But these implicit philosophers, they are ignoring the status of mind. They think we perceive and that is knowledge. So perception is not knowledge in the sense the first stage is perception, but the second stage is that should be judged, that should be synthesized, that should be interpreted. Otherwise, you can't have any knowledge.
So exactly, it was at this point that I was reminded of Locke when I was hearing you, like when Locke is defining knowledge as the perception of agreement between ideas or disagreement between ideas. How do I interpret the perceiving of agreement between ideas? Am I not making a judgment when I'm agreeing between two ideas or disagreeing between two ideas? When I'm making an agreement between two ideas or disagreement between two ideas, am I not being judgmental? It was exactly at this point that I could relate somehow Locke with Kant, and there only this was actually my point.
No, Locke is also admitting the role of mind in a very passive way, and by that he is giving more focus on experience, that the knowledge begins from experience. Knowledge is originating from experience. But Immanuel Kant does not claim that knowledge is originating from experience. Immanuel Kant is saying knowledge begins from experience. There is a difference between beginning and originates. When we say that knowledge originates from experience, here the role of mind becomes passive. When we say knowledge begins from experience, then it is processed through mind. This is the only difference. The role of mind is there in both Locke and Kant, but in Locke, mind is passive. In Kant, mind is active. Do you agree with this or not? If you don't agree, then it is a claim. It is a claim against Locke, because I am saying what Locke has said.
Yes,
I am not saying of my own. I am saying what Locke has said and Kant has said.
Sir, exactly. Locke is saying that mind is passive in the initial phase when the mind is receiving the simple ideas. But after the receiving of simple ideas, then mind actively forms the complex ideas and actively perceives the agreement and disagreement between the complex ideas in reaching the stage of knowledge. So mind is passive in the initial phase only when receiving of ideas.
Yes, so listen to me, that is rejected by Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant does not believe in the passive synthesis of simple ideas and making complex ideas. Immanuel Kant is speaking very scientifically. Active mind means mind is very scientifically interpreted. Immanuel Kant is not speaking about any abstract synthesis of simple ideas and forming complex ideas. Forming of a complex idea is a negative approach to epistemology in Locke. Immanuel Kant is not speaking about that. That mind is only ready for making complex ideas. No, mind is active because without the a priori conditions of space and time, no perception is possible, and without the a priori conditions of categories of understanding, no understanding is possible. So we can't have any complex idea or abstract ideas from different ideas. That is not the contribution of Immanuel Kant. By saying that love is making the mind passive. But Immanuel Kant is saying no, mind is very much active, mind is very much scientific, because mind has an active role in perception too. But Locke does not admit that. Immanuel Kant says that mind has an active role in every aspect of our life, in perception, in understanding. Okay, so that is the difference between Locke and Immanuel Kant. That is how the philosophy of Immanuel Kant is a development over both empiricism and rationalism. If it is clear, then I shall go to your second question. That is morality. Okay?
Yes, sir, sure.
Regarding morality, what was your question? I just forgot.
I was trying to say that how can I distinguish my knowing from my living? What is an ethical existence other than thinking about ethics or knowing about ethics? How can I distinguish these two aspects? Like I know with pure reason and I live through practical reason. How can these two things be distinguished?
Yes, yes. Okay. Immanuel Kant is claiming that you can only become moral if you have a very sound understanding about the distinction between relativity and universality, phenomenal and nominal. If you don't have that, even in the Bhagavad Gita it is also said, Jnana Yoga comes first, then Karma Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga. So first Jnana, first wisdom, first knowledge, first you have to understand what is real and what is unreal, what is good, what is bad. Because you understand the ethical principles, because you understand the empirical reality, then the question of morality will take place. But the point is that Immanuel Kant is focusing on the universal aspect of morality, not the contextual aspect of morality. This is the distinction between Immanuel Kant and the Bhagavad Gita. Immanuel Kant is speaking that you have to follow the universal principles, universal paradigms, universal laws to be moral. That means your morality should be equal to all. You don't have a personal morality. Immanuel Kant does not believe in any personal morality. And that is possible only through you will have an understanding of a noumena. Because the phenomenal world is the world of relativity. By that, you can become moral. So, through practical reason, when you assess to faith and you believe in the postulates that existence of God, the immortality of the soul, and the totality of the world, from that understanding, one can have moral consciousness that I shall become the whole, I shall become the total, I shall become the real, I shall become God, I shall have Godhood qualities. I shall, in Upanishad it's also said, and aham brahmasmi. The jiva knows that I am jiva, I am this mind, this body, but on the ultimate stage, he knows that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am that Brahma. Similarly, Immanuel Kant says that our knowledge should transform us. Our knowledge should become our becoming. So we should become what we know. And that is possible when we know the totality, when we know the infinity. And the fact is that possibility, that understanding is not possible through pure religion. Because pure religion can operate only through experience. So that understanding is possible through another type of religion which he calls practical religion, and that is based upon faith. So there are two things. One is knowledge, one instrument is knowledge, scientific knowledge or categorized knowledge, and the other is faith. So in faith, you have freedom, you have your free wings to fly. You can fly, you can become a religious person, you can become a moral person. Through this conditional epistemological mechanism, you can't be moral. This is the claim of Immanuel Kant. Third question, what was the third question?
No, sir, this is okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das, Professor Anurima Bhattacharya. Well, very good questions and well taken and convincingly so. And as Professor Das said, for Kant, even the experience is not possible without the involvement of an active mind. Whereas in Locke, we can think of experience without such involvement of the mind or with a passive mind. As Dr. Anurima has rightly said that while claiming knowledge in the structure of Locke, when he says knowledge is agreement and disagreement of ideas, well, there is then a sort of activation at the later stage when my mind gets involved, to make a connection between the ideas. It is then maybe mind turns to be active. But in the philosophy of Kant, as Professor Das has rightly said, that mind is active all through, starting from the experience itself, and that is not so when we talk of John Locke. So this is how what I could get from the debate that went on between Anurima and Dr. Anurima and Professor Das. So it's a good take. Thank you both of you. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Well, it's again 8:20, so it's time. Well, any question? Let me see. Well, I don't see any questions, but it's again 8:30. I feel early. Okay, so we should end up the session now. Thank everybody for being so good in the session, and it was a great learning for all of us. Well, now I request Swarnalata Tripathi Madam to propose a vote of thanks.
Namaskar to all. Today we discussed pure reason and practical reason. Pure reason gives scientific knowledge and practical reason is based on faith. Both knowledge and faith make human personality complete and perfect. Misuse of pure reason leads to illusions and misuse of practical reason leads to a life of abstraction. A concrete life is a life of both science and religion. We are all thankful to Pramod sir for his wisdom and sincere effort in concluding the lecture series with success. We are grateful to Dr. K.M. Narayan Rao sir for his honest involvement in academic discussion. His responses are genuine and positive. He speaks what he understands. He is so honest that he never intends to compromise with any issue of philosophy. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rao sir has been with us since the beginning of the lecture series. We shall remain grateful to him for his sincere help and guidance. We are grateful to all the participants for being with us in this session. And I request you all to attend webinar program tomorrow in Philosophy Family. Thank you all. Pranam. Over to Rao sir.
Thank you, Swarna Madam, to you for being connected to Philosophy Family. Well, you belong to Wisdom Intellectual Forum. It's a joint venture on the webinar series, Western Philosophy. As I say you again, that it is for all of you that this webinar series went on with a joint collaboration with Wisdom Intellectual Forum and Philosophy Family, and this went on very nicely. And today, I have been informed to all of you that this is the last lecture in the series. Well, I don't say this is the last lecture. Well, we have with us Dr. Anurima, who will be speaking on the next thinker in the line of thinkers. She will be speaking on Hegel, on the 29th of May, I think, we'll be having an extension of this series, and that would be a great lecture. I think I wish her good work on that, and wish to learn from her because she raises very good questions and really that makes us think. So, looking forward to have a great lecture. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, madam. So, you want to say
I
something?
will,
Yes.
yeah, I will like to say that it was a great event, talking about Kant and listening to Kant and discussing about Kant in the very birth month of Kant. So I noticed that it was April, which is the birth month of Immanuel Kant. So it was really such an honor and a tribute to the great thinker to have a discussion throughout the month on him in the birth month. So this was the point which I wanted to mention before also. So thank you, Philosophy Family, whether it was consciously done or not, but it was a great coincidence.
Well, thank you, madam, for the information. Well, a great tribute to that man who has really brought in a lot of revolution in very act of thinking, and I should thank everybody for making this webinar so successful. Well, even though I speak that the Saturday webinar series is coming to an end, well, we are not ending up on Saturdays. Well, Professor Das has taken up a venture with Gangadhar Meher University, Sambalpur, wherein he will be speaking to the postgraduate students on Isha Upanishad every Saturday and even Sunday morning. Well, I don't know the time exactly. Well, it's 6:30 on Saturdays. Well, it may be 10:30 in the morning on Sunday. Well, those who are interested in Isha Upanishad, they can join Professor Das for his lecture on Isha Upanishad on Saturday evening and Sunday morning. So we are not ending up on Saturdays. We are still there. So keep on be connected with us, so we can do better in the time to come. So thanking you all. I say it was a great series. A lot of things have been discussed, a lot of things we could learn, and a great interaction. And one great find in this webinar series is Dr. Anurima. Well, and really the first time she joined, it was during maybe Professor Panirselvam during the course of Panirselvam's lecture on Richard Rorty's lecture. Well, from that day, when he is there on our platforms, he raises very beautiful questions, and that ignites everybody's minds to think further, to do well. So this how it's a great find in this series, Dr. Anurima. So once again, I wish her bright journey in philosophy family and in her philosophical life to do philosophy much better and better. So the people across India, across the world, they be get benefited from her beautiful thinking, for her entire contribution to philosophy, and we are looking with much eagerness to listen to her a complete lecture on Hegel on the 29th of May. So, by thanking one and all, I should thank the speaker also because.
Sir, I should make a correction. Sir, I should make a correction. I have done that on the group, but I should confess that I am not a doctor. Okay, I cannot claim a doctor before my name. I am Srimati Anurima Bhattacharya. I have not yet submitted my thesis, so please make that correction. I really feel so bad when the doctor is added before by name because I don't deserve that till now. Okay, so please.
No, one should, well, if you go that, well, in the format, well, you are right. But when it comes to thinking, when it comes to the way you take things, you are much more than being called, say, giving the title. Well, say, formally speaking, you are right, I say, but still, you are much more qualified to have that title. Well, I should, that doesn't make much use because you are so good enough in like taking the things in a philosophical light and bringing good issues into for discussion. So very much thankful to you. Well, I should thank the speaker for his patience all through, starting from Bacon to Kant. A very good. Actually, I should thank Professor Das for his sincerity and for his involvement 24/7 for making this lecture series so successful, and rightly so. He has really made this series successful, and I think those who have joined this series might have definitely benefited by his insights, by his thought, by his simplicity. in expression of complicated things. That's how Professor Das is famous. I like Professor Das because he tries to make the things look so simple. So that makes sense. And many people in the forum join only to listen Professor Das. And just after his lecture is over, they simply quit. So what does this say? This says that they are just interested in listening to Professor Das. Once his lecture is over, they're just out. So that shows that people are attracted towards Professor Das for his simplicity in expressing